Alright guys, welcome back to the Knight Rider in-universe build from MPC, and in 125th scale. We're going to be looking at the interior today, and let me show you what I've done with it. Alright, here we go. We're just taking a quick look at it. Let me give you a couple of my thoughts on this. First of all, it's the molds on this kit are... The tooling for this kit, let me just say, as a matter of fact, are in need of replacing, as many of the items are not molded as crisply as they should be. There are quite a few faults in the molding of it, which you will have to deal with. Not the least of which are the seams on the seats, which you will have to definitely put a little work into to make the seats presentable. Here, as you can see, I've done the carpeting. I've added front seat belts. And one thing I want to mention about installing the seats. They have 3 tabs here. Now the instructions want you to mount the seat here ahead of the forward tab. And if you do that, the seat will be sitting too far forward, and it'll look kind of awkward with the dash in place, as the dash is extended for the Knight Rider portion of the dash, so it comes out further than it would on the regular Firebird dash. What I found is that if you, instead of placing the seat here, you place it here, just behind that tab. It gives you a couple of millimeters that the seat moves back, which is not readily visible once the dash is in the car and the interior is all together, as the dash extends so far forward that it's almost impossible to get in there and see that tab. So that's what I would recommend for doing that. Here you can see the center console controls are in place, the shifter's in place, the dash is all in one piece and ready to go together. So let me install the seat. Then we'll come back to the dash, and we'll take a look at what I've done there. Okay, here you can see we have the seats installed, and I've installed seat belts in the front seats only, as since this is an in-universe build, KITT was never intended to be a passenger vehicle, just as a high-tech mode of transportation and partner for Michael Knight. So I've only included seat belts for the 2 front seats, as I kind of just ran out of seatbelt buckles, so I couldn't do the rear. But we're just gonna say that since he was never intended to carry passengers in the rear, they didn't bother to install them when they updated the car and stripped it to install all the components. But Michael's seat needs a seat belt and a front passenger, as sometimes he's had to take Devin out, or someone else out on his missions. I could have left the seatbelts out, as the actual KITT from the show didn't have seatbelts at all. They removed them all when they did all the upgrades to the interior of KITT, and never reinstalled them. But I figured, let me just put the seatbelts in because I like doing them, and it just, I think, would look a little more realistic with seatbelts and without. Alright, so now that that's over and done with, let's take a look at the dashboard. Here I've installed the steering wheel, the control panels that are behind the steering wheel, those 2 paddles behind there with a ton of buttons that do whatever it is that Michael needs them to do, depending on what the plot of the episode is. And we have all the controls on the lower control panel, the instrument cluster, the monitors, as we saw on the previous video. Now what I want to show you is, this is the light box that I built to hold the LED. And as you can see, I drilled a couple of holes looking for the perfect place to run the wires through so that they don't have too much of a kink or a bend. And took a couple of tries, but I found the right spot. And now I just run the wires out of the light box through the firewall, and they're going to go into the engine compartment, and that's where the battery's going to be. Now, I didn't bother painting the putty that's sealing up all of the light leaks, as you'll never see that once the car is fully assembled, as this will be the dash's final resting place, and that will be the completed interior of the vehicle. Now, all the putty that I put there to seal the light leaks, as I said, you'll never see it as it's under the dash, and once the body is on the car, it's pretty much sealed up forever. And the wiring is neatly tucked in under the dash. Comes out right here. It'll run through the firewall piece that goes on the body into the engine compartment, and that's where I'll have to figure out how I'm going to mount it and the on and off switch that goes with it. Now, let's light it up. I know I showed on the previous video the system lit, but I'll try it now with everything together so you guys can get a look at what it's going to look like. Just one note before we do that is the seats have I've added shadows to them using the Tamiya Panaline paint in brown, which really brings out all of the folds in the seat and makes them a lot more interesting to look at than just staring at that solid tan color, which is Tamiya sand in a spray. Okay, let's light it up, and you guys can get a quick look at what the final product is going to be. Alright guys, and here we have our final product, the completed interior with functioning dash lights. Here you can see the detailing that I've put into the interior. Did originally plan to do rear seat belts, but as I said before, I ran out of the the photo etch seat belt parts, and I'm not going to hold this kit up for a couple of weeks waiting for an order of them to come in, as I don't think the rear seat belts are really that important for what I'm trying to do with this kit. But as you can see here, if you look under the dash, there are no light leaks remaining. It's completely sealed, and the only lights coming are the red and blue flickering of the LED coming through the dash, which is exactly as I had intended it to look. Let's shut off all the lights here and see what we get. There we go. You can see the lights coming through the monitor and all the instruments. Light leaks are all sealed, and it's a pretty nice effect. Oh, let's say lost connection to the battery. Right now I just have the battery, the wires held to the battery with a little bit of tape just to test the system out, make sure everything works right. One thing I will say is, hold on, connection came loose. There we go. The update of the original Firebird kit for the included Knight Rider dash parts is where you can tell the new tooling from the old, or newer tooling, as none of it is really new. As the dashboard is molded a little bit more crisply than the rest of the interior. And the controls are all there. The extra added decals that came with this kit for all of the control panels and the instrument cluster, those are all decals, as you can see in there, lighting up behind the lights. You can actually still see the instrumentation. You can see the radar displays in the monitors. Those are all decals. The decals for Kit's voice box right in the center there, between the instrument cluster. This control panel here, which has been decaled along with a little bit of setting solution over the engraved buttons that were there, and really brings the buttons, the decal to life, as it looks all three-dimensional, not just a flat decal. Now, the seat belts here are going to be attached to the B-pillars on the body. The inner part of the B-pillars, that's where they were attached in the real Firebird. And that's going to be where they're going in this one. And so as you can see, the carpeting's done, carpeted panels on the doors. Apart from, we lost our light again. Apart from the dash, everything else stays pretty much stock Firebird. Or stock Trans Am. So there we go, guys. Just wanted to give you a quick look at how this was turning out. And the last minute addition of the seatbelts, which, as I said before, I didn't really plan to do at first, but just kind of bugged me to see those seats there with nothing there. Alright, that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one.